So a day later, and what I have done is obviously installed the new drain. The new drain looks pretty center. I'm really happy with that, even though it's not center. Then I had to, because of the discrepancy that I talked about earlier, that little 3/4 of an inch, I had to pour what is commonly called a pre-slope, which I don't normally do, and I did in this case. So I guess some other people out there that are watching this that have badgered me about not doing pre-slopes, there you have it. But I didn't do this one for the reason that people want it done. I did it because it had to be done in order to get my 3/4 of an inch difference on this pan. So the next step will be setting the pan liner and pouring that pan. This is a real anomaly here. I've never really run into all this plumbing right inside the wall. I mean, literally, that 3/4 line that you see over there, that 3/4 line is just, I mean, like just barely, if I put a level across those two 2x4s, it just barely is on the inside of the wall. So there's no scabbing I can do. As you see, the 2x6s I scab in, so I have my pan liner to rest up against something, and I cannot do that in this case, but it's okay. I just won't have one there. There's enough girth over here to take up for any slackness, hopefully, by the time I get down to the corner. But in the meantime, I have the small niche. We couldn't put one over on this wall because of all that stuff I referred to earlier, so we had to do a smaller one right there. And I have the new shower fixture on that wall, which used to be on this wall, which used to be much larger and got cut down. And then, of course, I built up the curb with a couple more 2x4s because obviously you can see that I basically took up half of the room on one of the 2x4s, which is on the inside of that bottom one also. So it's 2.5 2x4s high, which is not a big deal. But anyway, so I'm going to put the pan liner in and get started on pouring the pan. So a continuation on the series of my videos, how to build a shower, basically from scratch, from nothing. So if you recall in the first video I kind of showed the process, or I gave you links anyway, of the process of making sure that your drain was right. If you recall in that video, there was a concrete slab and I had to fill in the box, but I also had to bring up the floor to the point where that bottom flange of the drain was level. So that took some time, and then of course I moved the shower fixture, installed a new one in fact, but I moved it from this partition wall to over there, and then of course I cut the partition wall down to a 4-foot knee wall. So basically that's what I did on the first video. The second video in the series, there'll probably be at least 3 or 4. I'm showing the process again, but I'm not literally showing how I do it. I have other videos, as I've already mentioned on the first video, of how I do all this process, but I'm just letting you know these are the steps that you need to take in succession. So the plumbing comes first. Once the plumbing is done, part of the build back process is making sure that your walls have enough scabbing of wood and all that stuff so you can put your wall board up. That's part of the process. Part of the process is stabilizing your knee wall if you have one. Stabilizing any type of wood that you have going on would be the second process after this is taken care of, including putting the niche in. So again, I'm going to refer you to some videos that I have currently on my channel, how to build a niche. I already have. I'm going to link it right there. So even though this is a smaller niche than I normally do, the process is still the same. So the link will be right there. That will show you the process of building the niche. The other thing that I've done, and part of what I did yesterday before I posted that first video, was I went ahead and built up the curb, and I wrapped the curb. So the curb is nothing more than 3 2x4s. Some people are focused on using a concrete curb, and that's fine. Concrete is still porous, so if you have a problem with it, you're still going to have water penetration regardless of what the makeup is. There are some people that are focused on doing concrete curbs. I'm not one of them. Anyway, so it's the 3 2x4s I showed you earlier. I put the first one down and I used a bang gun on that. If you go to the first video, you'll see the link on how to use that bang gun. And then all I did after that is I put two more 2x4s on top of that, nailed it down very solidly. And then, of course, you know, once I put the liner in, I wrapped it. I have another video on how to build a curb. I actually have 2 videos on how to build a curb. One is on a mock-up and one is on an actual job. So I will link both of those videos right here, one here on top and then one here on bottom, how to build a curb. So you can watch those videos and see the process, very complete process from the very beginning to the actual tile on it. So that's how to build a curb. So, and that's all I did yesterday. So I put in the niche, I put in the rest of the curb, and then I set the pan liner and poured the mortar inside the pan liner. Again, not to be redundant, but I have a video on how to put a pan liner in and how to pour the mortar and get it to the point where it's sloped down to the drain. And that video, again, is right there. I will link that, and you can go through that video and watch it and figure out how best it will be for you. That's on the video. I show the way that it works for me. So we have basically about I think there's three and a half bags of 60-pound sand mix. Sand topping mix is what you want to use on here. And if you notice on here, also this is very evidently sloped. You'll see right here where I put my level. I have a 2-foot level, and I put my level on it as I'm screening out all of this mortar mix. I make sure that my slope is at least 1/4 inch or better per foot going down to the drain. So that's what those marks are, in case you're wondering. So that was the process that I did yesterday. I always bring my mortar about 1/4 inch or so, maybe 3/8 of an inch below the edge of the drain. And a lot of people wonder why I do that, and it's not necessarily to set the tile. It would actually be a little deeper if you were to set the tile straight to the flange or to the drain cap. I don't do that right here. Most people set their tile right to the edge. I don't do that. I feel like if there's any settling of all of this weight, and on here, because I have a slab, I don't have to worry about it, but it's a habit that I've gotten into. If there's ever a settling of the weight, the sheer weight of all of this stuff, houses do settle, that I don't want ever have an issue where the tile has dropped below the edge of here and then you have water pooling around the edge of your drain. I don't want that to happen. So I intentionally make this about 3/8 lower, knowing full well that my tile is typically 1/4 of an inch, or sometimes better than 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to put enough thin set down here to make up the difference. So my tile will actually set slightly above the edge of the drain, and then I will taper each individual piece. I will taper off those pieces all the way around so that there's a positive water flow going into the drain, that you don't have to worry about ever the settling or anything like that. So that's what I do. You may do it differently, and that's fine too, but that's the habit I've gotten into over the years. So this is the second process, as I said already, not to be redundant. The first process is to take care of the build back process, which again has to do with all your wood and scabbing, has to do with your drain, has to do with your supply, and that is in video 1. Video 2 is the process of setting the pan and putting the wallboard up. So now that the pan has dried overnight, this is not the time to tile. This has probably the better of 3 gallons, 2 to 3 gallons of water that got introduced here. So this actually needs a good 2 or 3 days to dry out completely, and I would never set tile on this right away. So today's process is basically I just scraped off any inconsistencies that I had. I use a knife for that, a 9-inch blade, and I just kind of scrape off if there's any inconsistencies or high spots. Then I'm able to do that the next day. And so that process happened as soon as I got here, and then of course I'm making sure that I have enough scabbing in all my corners for my wallboard. The wallboard that I will be using is green board. I don't use, generally speaking, unless it's a steam shower or somewhere where I know it needs a lot of protection, I don't use Durarock, I don't use Hardybacker, I don't use those type of cement boards. I use green board on my showers, and I have for many, many years. I've never had an issue. There is this logic or this thinking that inside of a shower you should never use green board because gypsum and water mix and create mold and mildew. The problem with that logic, or illogic as I call it, is that you're putting a waterproofer, you're putting a topical membrane on top of that green board. Green board has a chemical additive that resists mold and mildew, but in addition to that I put Red Guard on my walls. Always, always, always I put Red Guard on my walls. I put it on the curb, I'll put it on the knee wall, the top of the knee wall, the edge of the knee wall. I am protecting this shower against any water penetration whatsoever, so I'm not concerned of the fact that I use a gypsum product in my showers. Ironically, there is a product called Dense Shield. You can look it up on the internet. Dense Shield is gypsum, and so if you look at the edge of it, that's all it is, a gypsum board. Dense Shield came out years ago. It has a waterproofer that is already embedded on it. It's painted on. It's a waterproofer, same as Red Guard or Aqua Defense or any of those waterproofers would be. So they're selling this product to put on your shower walls. They say you can use it for your floor, nail it down to your floor and use it the same way. I would never use this on a floor, but I've seen it used and I've taken it up off of floors before. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make really is that I'm using green board and I'm putting Red Guard on top of the green board, so I have created Dense Shield. It's a little more expensive than, you know, normal type of sheetrock because it does have that waterproofer already on it. So the process that I do is I put green board on my walls. You'll see that here shortly, but I put green board on my walls and then I waterproof it with at least 2 coats of Red Guard. If I have enough Red Guard, I'll put a 3rd coat on. And then I always put 3 coats in the corner. I put 3 coats in my niche, and I put 3 coats on my knee wall as well as my curb. So that takes care of that. Also, what you'll see once my wallboard is up is that it's going to be slightly, it's not going to be touching my shower pan, and so I'll probably be about an inch and a quarter or so from barely touching the shower pan, so that there is no possibility of water penetration going up. So if you can imagine, my green board is going to set like this, and then your floor tile will eventually slide up under there, so that you don't have any weeping up of any type of board that you use, whether it's green board or Durarock or Hardy or anything. All of those will weep water upward. Yes. So anyway, I'm going to get started on this, and this process is video number 2. There will be a 3 and there will be a 4, as I've already said, to show you the complete shower build.